D&D, or any RPG, you're ready to play. You've got an awesome character, the son of a sailor kidnapped by pirates. But the captain took a shine to you. You became a capable, fearless, swashbuckling scallywag ready to take on the world. Then a mighty kraken attacks the ship, killing your crew and your mentor, leaving you, the sole survivor. You felt fear for the first time. By some miracle of the gods, you washed up on shore. Feeling some resolve, you set out to find a new crew, to go hunt down the beast and get vengeance for your fallen shipmates. You stroll up to your first session, very confident, ready to play this new character, only to find that this campaign takes place almost entirely in a desert, miles and miles from the sea. Your backstory becomes irrelevant to the campaign. Your experience becomes 20 sessions of misery before the 30th scheduling conflict ends the campaign with not a bang, but a whisper. If this exact scenario has happened to you or a loved one, you may be entitled to one rambly video delivered by yours truly. Hi, welcome to Cozy Potato Games. My name is Dylan, and today we look at the most boring, overlooked first step to any campaign. The session that is not session 1, but is the session you play first, session 0. You wouldn't dive into a heist or storm an enemy stronghold without a plan, so don't begin a campaign without a session 0. It's important to have a layout for your session 0 before you begin. Less important, but can be helpful if your players can see this handout before the scheduled day. I'll have the layout I use in the description, free for you to use or to inspire your own. It's not required, but I highly recommend including your lore handout with this. I've been in games that had a poor session 0, run by me. I've also had games that had no session 0, or games that I joined after the campaign was already well underway. I'm here, as always, to share my experiences. My hope is the new players and dungeon masters watching, and maybe the occasional experienced one, will be able to jump ahead of as many of these issues as possible. We should establish at bare minimum the setting for the campaign. Is this from a published adventure or your own homebrew world? Also talk about the genre: horror, mystery, high fantasy, sword and sorcery. Also determine if it's a high magic world or a low magic. Preferably you make time to elaborate on information about the setting relevant to player backstories. And review important details from the lore handout to help the players understand the larger plot that they're going to be engaging with, or that they will hopefully be engaging with. If backstories haven't been written, make sure your players are in a position to do so by the end of session 0. The session 0 should technically start weeks before a game actually begins. As soon as you have a group of players ready to go, you should begin preparing them for play. You should have a concept for your campaign already, regardless of whether it's a pre-written module, a completely open sandbox adventure, or somewhere in between. Write down some basic information about your setting. Nothing too crazy, over-designed, or too detailed. Let your world come to life during play. We'll talk more about world building in future videos, but for now it's enough to throw out just basic ideas. Say we have two kingdoms previously at war. Now they're in sort of a Cold War holding pattern, an uneasy truce, each waiting for the other to strike first. Now the players have enough information to know they should make characters that are born into a period of unrest. Again, establish if the setting is low or high magic. Are monsters rare or rampant? And again, include anything you would want your characters to connect to their backstories. Refer to the Backgrounds and Backstories video for more. You don't need a sprawling, multi-page essay on the entire history of the kingdom. Just get a few details in there to get the ball rolling. I'll probably make a whole separate video for lore handouts in the future, but you're a smart DM. You get the picture. After your players get the lore handout, and you've set a date for session 0, it's time to begin this game. And it starts with scheduling, the bane of every campaign. And I hate to say it, but the simplest solution is the meanest one. Your players find that magic day that everyone can consistently be free. Friday, Saturday, Tuesday nights, it doesn't matter. Whatever it may be, that is now D&D night. Make a strict schedule. Every week is awesome, but every other week may be more manageable. Try to avoid doing it only once a month. But once you find that day, you need to put your foot down and say, okay, this is our time to play. We're doing every other week so it doesn't dominate all your free time. Please schedule your weekend around the game, not the other way around. It's hard, it's rude, but it's kind of necessary to make sure your campaign is played all the way through. If your group can't meet consistently, your game will fizzle out. That's just the unfortunate truth. This is also the time to assign snack duty. If you're playing online across multiple time zones, this may not apply, but make sure the players are prepared if games happen to occur during meal times. Assigning individual people a sweet, salty, savory, and veggie snack is usually a good formula. My personal belief is that the host provides drinks. You're the one with the cups and the fridge and the water. Obviously, you can come up with whatever snack arrangement you want based on the needs and wants of your group. It's not essential, but it is something to consider if you want snacks and don't want people to bring just a random assortment of chips and candy every week. More important than the snacks is table etiquette. This is the time to talk about what is and isn't acceptable at the table. Thankfully, this hasn't been an issue in my games before, but you should establish boundaries around things like alcohol and substances. I'm not going to linger on this one, but I'm going to assume most DMs don't want to run a game where everyone's drunk and high. But I don't want stoner cope in the comments. You do what you want for your game. Just make sure the expectations for sobriety at the table are made clear. Same for language and violence. Most games I've been in are okay with some level of gore. My suggestion is don't dwell on it. You can describe how your player leaps at the dragon, your enchanted blade tearing through its scales, blood spraying around you. Or you can describe the sound of its shredded entrails spilling onto the ground, the hollow groan of air escaping its lungs, the stench of bile filling the air. Describe enough to highlight your player's cool moment. Just make sure not to linger on uncomfortable details if your players aren't okay with it. The biggest thing here is just to be respectful of other people's boundaries around certain topics. This is the time to talk about it, bring all those things out, make it all clear, and hopefully avoid some drama down the line. Also related to table etiquette is talking about the rules. Lay out any house rules. Make sure everyone's on the same page. I think a good DM will make exceptions to the rules as appropriate, and a good player will respect the rules and not intentionally or repeatedly try to exploit them and find loopholes. I'll probably talk more about things like rule of cool versus rules as written and DM authority versus player agency in the future. For now, just make sure everyone has an understanding of your group's protocol for following the rules of the game. A one-time exception shouldn't create a precedent of something we can do every time. I've had players create entire strategies around these exceptions because they assumed once means always. Here's a specific example. I once had a group of players that decided to spam the help action via a bunch of familiars and summons, essentially giving them advantage on almost every roll in and out of combat, which is obviously pretty busted. By the way, that's not how that rule works, but I had set a precedent that they could do that. And so later, when I tried to get a handle on it, they told me I was being unfair. And I was. We hadn't set those expectations at the beginning of the game. The short version here, again, DMs respect player agency and use the rule of cool as appropriate. Players respect the rules and your DM's authority as the final say on specific rulings. After players are settled on the basic lore and theme of the campaign, scheduling, and table etiquette, it's time to make the characters. The biggest choice they will make is the class. Watch the class overview video for more information. For now, make sure the players are comfortable with the spread of abilities the party has access to based on the characters they have in mind. This is the time to roll stats and determine starting equipment and wealth. This is also the time for the DM to help new players learn the rules. After the players have had some time to make characters and exchange ideas, it's time to work on backstories. If you gave out lore handouts long before this point and the players already have backstories written, good for you. If not, this is the time to make sure that those players have those basic details laid out for them. I don't want to say this is the proper way to do things, but I usually have a folder for each player. This folder has a blank character sheet for whatever game we're playing, the lore handout, and a basic guide for character creation for whatever system we're playing. Usually 5e. Not necessary, but I'll usually have a set of dice for each player, especially new player, and bonus points if you can color code them to the folders you have. Again, totally optional, but that's how I do it. Once the group is happy with their party and have the threads set in place to connect them for ongoing plot lines, character sheets filled out, new players filled in on what all those numbers mean, understanding that no one is going to cheese the rules, no one's going to intentionally offend someone else, no one is going to show up too inebriated to play, you paid attention. Good job. You're ready to wrap up your session 0 and meet again next week, or whenever you scheduled your games. If you're done quickly enough, you can start the first chapter of play, get them into that opening adventure. But I recommend using any extra time you have to just talk about your characters together. You can maybe watch a movie, play some games, share a meal. Let's hype each other up for our coming campaign. And hopefully you're hyped up to watch the next video. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And let me know if I missed anything. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.